Hi there, Fix That Car here with an episode on how to replace front brake pads and front discs on your car. In this case it's a Vauxhall Corsa, but these procedures will apply to many other cars. We inspect the discs for wear or damage. On this particular disc you can see that there are some scoring marks on the outside, and they're also, I think you can just about see, on the inside as well. The actual thickness is 19.62. Now the wear limit is 17, so it's well within in terms of wear there. And looking through the end of the caliper, we can still see there's plenty of meat on the brake pads. But I think in this case, because of the scoring, I'm going to replace these discs and pads. You may have a locking screw on your disc. If that's the case, before removing the caliper, place a screwdriver in the vents on the disc. That stops the disc turning, and loosen that lock screw. There we go. The brake caliper is composed of two components. There's a carrier, that's a bit around the outside, which is bolted to the hub, and there's a caliper itself, which is bolted onto slide pins which sit in the carrier. If just the brake pads are to be replaced, it's only necessary to remove the caliper. If the disc is to be replaced, as it is in this case, it's both the caliper and the carrier. So I'll make a start by loosening these nuts that hold the guide pins in place. That bottom bolt felt like it was about to shear just then, and I was using this tool, which is a multi-point wrench. So I changed tack and I used this, which has got flat sides on the inside, and it's taken it's loosened the bolt and it's now coming out clean. So if ever you get in that situation, just remember to go for a flat-sided socket, which will take better care of your bolts. Right, that's the second one out. Then the caliper should manoeuvre off, which this is doing. It's important to not allow the caliper to rest on the pipe for the pipe to take its weight. So I'm going to tie this up here with a cable tie. Out of the way. And there we can see the pads resting on the disc. These can be easily removed, like so. These look quite good actually. There are two things that can go wrong with the caliper. It can not move on its slide pins. See, these slide pins are moving quite nicely, so always check your slide pins. Or the piston inside the caliper can actually seize. Now the piston will seize in the out position, not in the in position. So the symptoms you can get, if the slide pins are not moving properly, you'll find that one disc or one pad is worn much more than the other, so it's uneven wear. And if the piston's not returning properly, you'll find the pads are wearing down very quickly. And if you check your hub after a journey, you'll find that the hub is the wheel is very hot to touch. In those circumstances, you'll need to replace the caliper. Carrier removal is another one of those will it won't it moments when you've got two bolts that'll be very tightly fixed onto the flange. So I'm using a breaker bar here again, a snugly fitting Torx socket, and up we go. And it's moving. Let's just continue to remove these bolts. That's the second one off. And off comes the carrier, where you can see the guide pins, which are quite good. I might just look at that top one. Quite a simple device really. For the disc, we'll remove the pin, well the little screw we'd loosened earlier, and in this case off comes the disc. It may be that the disc is rusted in place, in which case you may need to tap it off with a mallet. If like me you've taken the caliper off, then it's now clean up time, and the thing to do is get as much dust as you can out of this rubber seal. In my case I've had a CV joint that's let grease out, so I'm going to clean that off. And the next stage will be to push the the piston back in, open the bleed valve and let fluid come out of that bleed valve and out of the pipe. If you're doing this on the car with the hydraulics connected, clean up as best you can. Just loosen the bleed valve just before you're about to press the cylinder in. Press that in, let the fluid come out of the cylinder, and then close the bleed valve. Don't let any air in, and you won't need to bleed the front brakes. Here I've used a wood clamp just to press the piston back in. You can push it in by hand sometimes, but they can be a little bit tough, so it's worth having just a little bit of mechanical assistance. Before fitting replacement discs and pads, take a look at what's in the box. In this large box we have 2 discs and nothing else. The smaller box is slightly more interesting. We've got 4 new brake pads and 2 bits of metal, and also a bag full of little metal components. Sometimes you'll just get the pads, but these are very useful. These stainless steel components in this bag are new sliders to fit into the carrier. You can see the old sliders here in the carrier. There's 4 of them. I'll take those out and I'll put those new units, those new bits in. And these are wear noise indicators. They'll clip on the top of the outside of the new pads. And looking at the old pads, you can see one of those clipped in place. What that does is when the pad's worn down, it'll make a loud screeching noise to let you know the pad's worn down. Apply some copper-ease grease to the flange on the hub. This will stop it rusting and adhering to the inside of the new disc that's about to go on. And also the new stainless steel sliders that have been placed on the carrier, a smear of copper-ease grease on each of those. That'll enable the caliper to slide comfortably across the carrier and give you even wear on the brake pads. If you don't do this, the pad could stick and you could end up with uneven wear. So the disc that gets placed over there, and in this case there's just one little locating screw to put in, which is this one. This just positions the disc in place. Starting to look nice already, isn't it? Just tighten that a little bit, just enough so that the screw doesn't fall out. Next thing is the carrier. This is held on with 2 bolts, which we're going to put some thread lock on. Just a little drop of thread lock on each bolt. That's the bottom one, and that's the top one. So we'll hold the carrier in place. I think we'll put the bottom bolt in first, then the top bolt. Turn the steering to face outwards so you've got a really good access to the caliper area. Then insert the pads. They should fit neatly into the new sliders that you just put on. There you go. Then put the caliper back on. This one's held up with a cable strap here. The caliper slides over the pads, the steering a little bit. And it's held on with just 2 bolts through the guide pins. It's worth checking these guide pins to make sure they are sliding smoothly. I have checked these, they're going in and out very nicely, so I'm completely happy with them. There she goes. Tighten up and torque up again. And that is one new set of brake pads and disc. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.